started 12 or more regular season games. So you eliminate some of the high-end guys that have that year one impact. Like a guy this year will probably only be in this year's, probably not be in next year's edition because he'll be over that. All right. Started 12 or more regular season games. And I'll just get through this real quick, and then we can get going, Rob, unless you want me to come back to it later.
No, go ahead and finish up, and then we'll start quarter two, guys. Sorry about that. Welcome, YouTube.
Hey! Look at that's where all of our viewers are.
There we go.
We're here.
So we're talking about the Prospect Encyclopedia. Poll of players from the last 3 draft classes cannot have started more than 12 regular season games. Also, they cannot have been selected to the Pro Bowl, the AP All-Pro team, or have won NFL Rookie of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, MVP, which is really rare anyway. And also, there's no kickers, punters, or long snappers unless it is their absolute first season in the NFL, no prior NFL experience. So that's really your qualification guidelines. But they can come in from any avenue: draft pick, undrafted free agent, street free agent. The NFL has a program called the International Player Pathway Program, which is rugby players usually coming in from Europe. The Canadian Football League exports, the XFL. Unfortunately, the AAF was already folded up. As I spoke, the Rugby League and any other league outside of the United States. I know Germany has the GFL. And so it can come by any avenue there. Also, a little side note by that, any player that are signed from a secondary league, they cannot be over the age of 30. 30 is the cap, and that player must also adhere to the previous guidelines. They can't have started more than 12 games or have been a kicker, long snapper, punter, or those awards. So it's really a small group of players that we're highlighting. They're the next faces of the NFL, the players that are kind of unheralded, but in a year or two are going to be the number 2, number 3 jersey seller in all of the league.
Well, I'll tell you what, we will come back to that. I'll even give you guys our first commercial when we get back after the second quarter here. We're going to do second quarter, then we'll throw you to commercial. It's going to be a commercial about that very book. So let's go ahead and get into quarter number 2. The second quarter topic that we've got for you guys today: who is the most impactful player to opt out due to COVID? I'm going to go first here because let's be honest, I'm more of a casual fan than these 3. I can kind of hold my weight until they start flexing muscles. So I'm going to give you a name here, and then I'll let them give you the real names. I'm going to go with Devin Funchess, mainly because Green Bay decided not to do jack shit for Aaron Rodgers in the draft or free agency other than signing Devin Funchess, and now Devin Funchess will not be playing. Big red zone target. I don't think it's a massive miss, but again, down there in the red zone, you may see some scoring opportunities that would have went his way that aren't going to now. Again, these guys are going to give you the better answers, much more in-depth. So I'm going to start with you, Jack. Who is your most impactful player to be placed on that COVID list?
Oh, well, you actually did take my number 1, which would have been Devin Funchess, so maybe you do know what you're talking about just a little bit. I think simply for the fact that they did not go get him any more weapons, and now he had the one weapon they got him isn't going to be there, and he was going to fill the Jimmy Graham role, and now he can't fill the Jimmy Graham role in the red zone. And now Devontae Adams is going to be double-teamed, if not triple-teamed. Oh, they also don't have Geronimo Allison anymore. Oh, yeah, he's also sitting out. So for my other player that I was going to throw in there, because I won't take the low-hanging fruit like these other 2 guys probably will, I'm going to say John Atkins, Detroit defensive tackle, nose tackle, a big boy. They were very, very thin to start. I actually did Detroit's write-ups, and I believe I did write up John Atkins as well. Or at least I ranked him on the depth chart. I believe I did it too.
You did.
He had a hell of a year last year coming in, and wasn't somebody that they were expecting much from. He ended up filling the starting role and was a stud for them. He was a run-stuffing machine, and now they're not going to have him. They're going to have to rely on Han and a couple of these other guys. John Pennicini, Pennicini out of Utah. They are very thin. They're basically down to mid to low end draft picks and undrafted free agents to try and man the center. They're going to be desperate for some help on defense, and that's not going to bode well for Detroit Lions.
Mayo, man, who you got? Who's the biggest one?
So I got a couple of them, and I try to go think outside the box as well. I didn't want to go for any low hanging fruit. I think it is more impactful because he was brought in for a reason. I picked Michael Pierce from the Vikings. He was brought in to fill the hole of Linval Joseph, who went and joined the Chargers. They gave him a nice sized contract. I think he's a really good player. Like we were talking about on the Prospect Encyclopedia, for our teams, we got to rank the top 11 players on those teams, and Michael Pierce, I think, was 10th or 11th, if I remember right. So he's a top 11 player to me on the Vikings. And if anybody missed the news, they tried to trade for PJ Hall. Sounds like the kid's out of shape. He failed the physical, so that trade, it fell through. So they're missing a hole in the middle of their defense. And on top of that, Everson Griffin is still a free agent. There's a possible reunion there. So outside Daniil Hunter, they have really some unproven guys that would have to step up. To plug the Prospect Encyclopedia once again, there are some guys I do think are at least could be in a good rotation. Maybe they can step up and fill that role. But that's a big loss for me. And another one I think, too, is Damian Williams. I know the Chiefs do have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but with this being the lack of the offseason, I do think he sounds like a smart kid that can pick up the offense quick. But how much better could he pick up that offense if he had a mentor like Damian Williams who knows the system in and out? So I think from a leadership aspect, that does somewhat hurt the Chiefs. But when you have Patrick Mahomes, I really couldn't rank that loss of Damian Williams above Michael Pierce for me.
Roy, what do you got, my man?
Yeah, and Damian Williams, kudos to him taking care of his mom and has stage 4 cancer. So big shout out to him, showing priorities in life. So anytime you hear that, I can't be mad at him. And another guy I just want to mention quick, he isn't one of mine, but Mr. Nate Solder. I know he's got a lot of flack since he went to the Giants. He's opted out. Basically because he was a cancer survivor, and his little boy is also battling cancer himself. So I can definitely see reasons why both of them guys would not get in there. Also, the other tackle, right tackle for the Patriots, Mr. Marcus Cannon, who overcame non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Understandable why these guys ain't coming this year, and why they deserve to be able to be sitting out so that their health doesn't take a risk. I also, like you guys, are trying not to take the low-hanging fruit. I will mention them. Donta Hightower, pretty easy. He's the defensive signal caller for the New England Patriots. Oh, yeah, and by the way, they also lost the entirety of their top 5 linebacker core from last year. Kyle Van Noy, oh, yeah, he's in Miami. Jamie Collins, oh, yeah, he's with Matt Patricia. Landon Roberts, oh, yeah, he followed Kyle Van Noy to Brian Flores' defenses. So they're nothing but Anthony Jennings, Josh Uche. They're a bunch of young guys. Jawan Bentley. That's going to be scab work at its best. Not only that, Chase Winovich. Not only that, but then their pseudo linebacker opted out, and Patrick Chung. So you lost leadership in the back end, front end, pseudo linebacker. Them guys are off the board. C.J. Mosley, another guy. Jets defense is in disarray after losing Jamal Adams to Seattle in the trade, and now Mosley. Both of them are low-hanging fruit. I just want to get to my couple guys here. My number one guy, Eddie Goldman, very under-the-radar type guy for Chicago's defense. Plays a lot of two-gap big nose technique in that 3-4 defense. They have a lot of young guys. Akeem Hicks has been a beast for a while, ever since he left the Saints and has signed with Chicago. They have another guy named Roy Robertson Harris. He's also an up-and-coming player. But Eddie Goldman was really the glue of that defense. Last year, he missed some time. Opposing teams averaged an increase of 4.2 yards per carry, and that was 7.37 yards per attempt with Goldman out. So they have nobody there, basically, other than a third-year pro named Bilal Nichols from Delaware, and also another guy that's a veteran, John Jenkins. They're going to be scabbing in the middle of that Bears defense together, and we already know if Mitchell Trubisky is under center, they don't have a chance. Nick Foles is going to need a stud defense to be able to keep up with the offense. Eddie Goldman's a big one for me. I can't get past that one. And my other guy, it's really under the radar, and I got to give some love to my fullbacks, Mr. Jameez Olawale from Dallas. It pains me to say Dallas Cowboys, but he's been a key contributor in special teams, but he's a hammer in ISO blocks. So you're really going to be seeing them maybe portraying one of my draft sleepers that I love, Mr. Sewu Olanolua, and force-fitting him into a fullback role, because that's basically the only guy they have to fit that role going into this year, to be lead blocking for Ezekiel Elliott. And it's built through the run on that offense, and that's a key position for them when it's in obvious rushing downs.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, Dante Hightower, was one that was on my short list as well. He led all off-ball linebackers in total pressures over the last 3 seasons, and the staple for New England has been defense, especially last year. You're starting to see that pair away. The offense was missing weapons last season. Now you pair that with a worse defense, and I think they're probably the most impacted team. Before we get off of the COVID list, we got about 6.5 minutes to kill here. So is there anyone that I'm going to pose this, and I don't want anyone to think that I'm doing this negatively, but have you had any surprises for guys that haven't hold out? Mine specifically being a James Conner. I thought that was going to be one of the first names we heard that would opt out. Are there any surprises for any of you guys, Mayo? I'll start with you.
Yeah, that one would make sense, but at the end of the day, he is in a contract year, so you got to think from a business aspect. I guess it'll be more people maybe like, like we saw the issue with the false positive with Matthew Stafford, but with his wife dealing with cancer, I guess that one was kind of like interesting because he is a starting quarterback. And there's talk about Cam Hayward. He has an asthma issue. But obviously the Steelers, you see, like you're starting to see like the teams that were guys that could opt out, they have chances at a Super Bowl ring. So I think that's why you're seeing some of the guys that you thought that could opt out, willing to take the risk, which, you gotta give them respect. They do feel safe in their working environment. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see some of these things that they're doing. Like the Broncos are literally spraying the players before they walk out in the field. So they're making it a safe working environment. So if the player feels responsible enough where they can take care of themselves outside the building, I think a lot of them are actually pretty comfortable going to the building, knowing that they're taking all the precaution not to catch anything there. So I'm not too not surprised that some of these guys didn't opt out.
Either you, Jack, or Roy, any surprises that haven't come out yet or that you think could?
I don't know. I don't know the health concerns about a lot of these players. It's not something that I look into. You look into ankles and knees. You don't look into asthma and stuff like that. I will say, obviously, it seems to be pretty easy to opt out if and when you have won a ring. And this tends to be, looks like the reason why we've seen so many Patriots opt out. And then guys that are on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, no one so far, knock on wood, has, because they're out there chasing a ring. And so if you've got a 43-year-old quarterback willing to take the risk, then, again, I completely understand it. If somebody has asthma, somebody has underlying health conditions, I get it. But I think the biggest thing is not necessarily the players that are going to opt out. It's the opportunities that have arose. And guys like Matt Pert, guys like, Chase Winovich and Josh Uche and, Deshaun Hand, a lot of these guys that we have in our prospect encyclopedia that nobody's really talking about, that's where you can find information on them. So as rough as it's been, this was kind of a blessing in disguise for our book. In terms of relevancy, it's going to be 10 times more relevant now. And now people are going to find out who UConn's Matt Pert is, who is somebody we're very high on as a prospect to develop in year 2 or 3, not be force-fed into the lineup year 1.
Roy, anybody?
The one player, Cody mentioned him, and me being a Steeler fan, I immediately thought of was Cam Hayward. I know he takes pretty good care of himself, especially with the asthma type stuff. But that was the one I know big name player that was yet to really say one way or another. But seeing the way he's been preparing himself with Stephon Tuitt and some of the other guys, he's all in on this season. He's also in a contract year as well, so that's another thing. But that was really the big name. And you mentioned, Cody, Michael Pierce. That's why he opted out. He does have asthma or asthma-type breathing issues, so that's the reason why he actually opted out. But for me, I had to chuckle today. We all know how serious the COVID situation is, but whenever you get down, you just need a chuckle in life. You got to look at the Gardner Minshew. And today,
his stash has magic built in.
I'm telling you, his quote today just made me giggle so much. It was like, on him being in quarantine, I did not contract the virus. It took one look at me and ran the other way, probably in its best interest.
Probably the most swagged out dude in the NFL. One more question. We got 2 minutes.
Is that what the flavor saver is there for, Roy? Are you paying homage to
That's right.
Well, that and Ron Swanson. Everybody got to get the Ron Swanson stash.
That's right, the Ron Swan.
We got just a couple minutes left. I'm going to ask one more question, so you got to be quick with your response here. Have we seen the bulk of opt-outs, or are you guys thinking we're going to see some more before it's a rolling deadline. I think it's Thursday as of now, but the rolling deadline. Have we seen the bulk, or are you going to see a bunch more guys, Jack?
I think there might be 1 or 2 other big names that come out.
Cody?
Yeah, it is Thursday at 4 p.m. That is set. So if you're in a fantasy league, don't hold your draft until then. I do expect we might see a couple more names. It'll be interesting to see who those names are. Based on what I've been hearing, you might be like a couple under. I guess I wouldn't say star players, but well-known names.
Roy, what do you think, man?
I think we've really seen the bulk of it. I think if anybody is now, I think you're looking at players that have guaranteed money left or are the lower end roster players that'll see their contract toll. I think that's what we're going to see. I don't know if we're going to see a major contributor opt out anymore.
I don't think so. I think they'd have had a lot of these guys are loyal enough to give the answer early, so I think we've seen the bulk. But I'm with Jack. You could see a couple more. Just a piece of quick fantasy advice I'm spreading. Because of COVID, I recommend not handcuffing positions because an entire position group could be withheld for a week, and that would only screw you a lot. So maybe spread out your shares across teams a little bit more this year than you would in years prior. Anybody else got any quick fantasy advice for COVID 2020 play?
Draft Kyler Murray.
Boom.
Yeah, he's so low to the ground that his level of breathing is lower than everybody else's, so he has less of a chance of contracting it. Is that what you're getting at, Roy?
No, I don't want to make my bold statement yet because me and Rob were talking earlier. But
oh God,
MVP,
Kyler Murray MVP. Oh, we heard that on another show. We heard that on another show already.
All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it. That's going to do it for the second quarter. We're going to be right back. Just as I promised, we're going to toss you into a commercial for the 2020 Prospect Encyclopedia, available for purchase very soon at Blitzalytics.com, Amazon.com, and BarnesandNoble.com.
For over 100 years, the story has been written, ever changing and growing with each new chapter. The soul remains, though the characters change. Bigger, faster, stronger, smarter.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide.
So too grows our fandom. In a game of inches, start miles ahead. The 2020 Prospect Encyclopedia. This September, available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and Blitzalytics.com.
welcome back, man. I'll tell you what, that gets me jazzed every time. I just want to read 10 copies of the book at once. All
few
right,
more
so-
days. Few more days.
Yeah, just a few more. Just a few more.
DVR everything that's the next week after it comes out. Just set aside all your time in the evening. You want to study all 418 pages.
418 pages, y'all. Big, thick, girthy. It's there. Let's move on in. We're gonna get into the. Here we are. Let's go to the third quarter. Topic of the third quarter. Normally, you do a 5-in, 5-out kind of deal, but with the new playoff structure, there's an extra team. So we're just gonna pick one team that we think is gonna be in that wasn't last year, and one team that's going to be out that was in last year. I'll start with you here. Last year, I told you Tannehill was the man in Tennessee. This year, not so much, man. I got the Titans as my team out. Real quick, they're losing a lot of easy games they had on the schedule. You had Atlanta. You had the Tampa Bay last year when they played. Carolina, Kansas City came in and lost to them. Oakland, New Orleans. They've replaced some of the worst defensive teams with some of the best ones. You've got Minnesota, Pittsburgh, Chicago, and Baltimore all coming in. And quietly, I didn't know that Green Bay was 10th in passing defense last year. So Green Bay Packers come in as well. It's just not going to be as easy for Tennessee as it was. They're the team I see sliding out. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to steal Roy's. And I'm going to tell you the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be the team that comes in because they lost 5 games by 1 score or less with a third-string quarterback they called Duck playing ball last year. So my out is going to be Tennessee. My in is Pittsburgh. And, Jack, let me come to you for your 1 in, 1 out, my man.
Man, why you got to be taking people's stuff? I mean, that was going to be Roy's pick. That definitely was going to be my pick, but I made sure to leave that pick out so Roy could pick his team.
That's okay. It's okay. I'm prepared. I'm a professional. I'm prepared.
This is going to be like a weekly disclaimer that anytime we ever say anything good about the Dallas Cowboys, we have to make sure that we know or that everybody else knows that we're not happy about it. So
David. David.
So I will say I'm not happy about it, but the Dallas Cowboys are definitely making the playoffs this year, especially because that one extra roster spot on top of getting CeeDee Lamb, having arguably the best draft from like a pre-draft or like post-draft before the season starts. That's arguably one of the best draft classes I've ever seen. Will it pan out that way? We don't know. But when you're talking about guys like Gallimore and you're talking about, just the plethora. I could go through pick by pick. We don't have enough time to do that. My out is going to be the Green Bay Packers. I still have them going. Probably, I think we had him 9-7, 8-8, and I think that's going to be enough to miss the playoffs this year. This is the one team that did not get better. They actually got worse at best. Or they stayed even at best. I think they definitely got worse this offseason, though.
Yeah, I'm in that boat too. This kind of feels like the year where if you didn't get better, you got worse, right? Even if you stayed the same, you just got worse this season because a lot of teams really, really jacked up the ammo that they brought in. Cody, I'll come to you for your 1 in, 1 out now, brother.
Well, you already know who I'm going to say.
I told Jack earlier he got to be a homer. I knew it was coming, so.
Yeah, I'm picking the Colts. They have a well-rounded roster. For my reason, I'm going to pick a different out team, but one of the teams I had ready to present as an out was the Titans. I do think the Titans peaked last year. I really don't know where they got better. They only have AJ Brown really as a receiving threat. I do like Janu Smith, but Corey Davis isn't much. Adam Humphries has to stay healthy. Their defense will be strong, but I think the offense I think the offense will at least stutter more this year. I think the defenses will be able to figure it out. Will Henry stay healthy throughout the year?
That's a big one for me. And I pulled some stats here, Cody, since you went on the Titans. I do want to throw this out there for you, right? I talk about the defenses that they're going to have to play. You're looking at in those games that they lose the teams from last season, that accounted for 36% of all of Derrick Henry's yards. He had 100 against the Falcons, 90 against the Chargers, 75 against the Bucks, a Bill 88 against the Chiefs, and 103 against the Raiders. All of those games have been replaced with better defenses. And you want to talk about Tannehill, 47.63% of his passing yards came in 4 games. It was the Saints, Raiders, Panthers, and Chargers. He only had 2 more games over 200 anyway. I just don't see how they can get their offense going like that last year.
I've never
I
seen
agree.
someone flip on a take from one year to the next and be like, on the bandwagon, to then I'm off the bandwagon, to now I'm shooting the bandwagon down and watching it burn in flames. This guy called Ryan Tannehill taking the job from Marcus Mariota about this time last year, rode that all the way to the playoffs, and then as soon as that happened, he got off that bandwagon and said they'll never do it again. I love
I'm going to coin a term here. Just for Rob. He Donner partied him. Get out of here.
I did.
He Donner partied him. Get out of here.
Did. Oh, that's too good.
Yeah, and just to wrap up my take, but the reason why I was bringing up the Titans, I just think the Titans take a step back. I really don't know what the Texans are going to be this year underneath Bill O'Brien. I really don't think their defense is going to be great at all. So I think the Colts are going to win the division and make it into playoffs. And then since, Rob, you did say the Titans already, my backup out, just in case you did pick the Titans, is the Patriots. I'm not going to go too deep in on it, but to go back to Roy's take earlier about Dante Hightower, that's a big hit to their linebacker core. I mean, just looking at their defense outside the secondary, even before these opt-outs, I saw an aging secondary. I saw an okay linebacker group that did not address the position in the draft, and I really don't see a consistent pass rush. Can Bill Belichick develop some schemes to get the pass rush with the guys he has right now? Definitely with Uche, Winovich, it can happen, but I don't see like a Pro Bowl. I don't see an all-pro pass rusher coming off the edge. So I think their defense is going to hurt them. And even though I want to see Cam Newton succeed, as weird as that saying for a Patriots team, but like I just think they're going to be playing a lot of catch-up balls. So I think the Bills win the division, and I don't think they make it in as a wild card. I think somebody else squeezes in.
Preach, brother. Those are the sweetest words ever. The Patriots not in the Super Bowl. Or what, playoffs even. Yeah, oh, God. See, it just falls out of my mouth. Patriots, Super Bowl falls out of my mouth.
Playoff.
All right, Roy, who's your one? Yeah, the old Herm Edwards. Who's your man? Or your one in, one out?
Well, Cody stole my thunder there. New England is my team. I'm going to piggyback on him. And it's just so sweet to say as a Steeler fan, I hope they crumble. But I can't rag on my man Cam Newton. I love Cam Newton. I hope he brings it back, and I hope maybe he's their quarterback for the next 2 or 3 years and stays healthy. But who are they going to have on defense to stop anybody? And who are they throwing the ball to? Who are they throwing the ball to? Julian Edelman 54 times a game? Mohamed Sanu ain't going to do you nothing. I'm sorry, maybe DeMar Bird. I like DeMar Bird, but I don't know. I just don't know what the makeup of this team is with the opt-outs, Tom Brady leaving, the shadow that's casted upon him. I just don't know where this team's head's going to be at. I really think it's going to be a rebuilding year. I know that's going to pain Jason Feiner to hear and a lot of our other Patriot fans, but I don't see how they're going to be able to overcome this much. And if it is, I'll eat crow. Mr. Belichick is one of the best coaches ever. So, but I just don't see where it's at right now that they're going to be an over 500 team in my opinion. So, New England is my one out. Since Rob stole my Steelers, they're definitely the low-hanging putting in. I'm going to go with another team. Mr. Arizona Cardinals are going to be the team that gets in. Come on, son. Kyler Murray.
Come on, son. Nobody mentioned Tom Brady.
Kyler Murray is going to put up MVP video game-like numbers this year.
Preach.
You have DeAndre Hopkins and Larry Fitzgerald in the wide receiver core? Come on, son. Oh, and Andy Isabella? Oh, okay. Then we have the cyborg, Hakeem Butler, who didn't break his hand. Yeah, let's go. Let's do that. And we have some nice depth in the offensive line. They signed Kelvin Beachum in case DJ Humphrey kind of pooped out. We have Kenyon Drake, who really came on, got a running game. I really like their dynamic on offense. And, oh, by the way, they have playmakers at all three levels on defense. You need pass rush, we got Chandler Jones. You need a guy to cover tight ends, we got Isaiah Simmons now. Oh, and you need a lockdown corner, we got Patrick Peterson and Byron Murphy and Budda Baker. You show me the holes on this defense. It's a young team. They're going to be throwing the ball around. It's going to be interesting to see. We're going to see some Big 12 type action out in Arizona. I love their makeup of their team. I really think that we might have 3 teams from the NFC West make the playoffs this season.
Just rub it in that the one team that's not going to make it is the jersey my cartoon is wearing right now. The Rams are just
I-
like, no
wasn't gonna
chance.
say-
Sure.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, good luck with that. I was hoping that somebody else would talk about my Buccaneers and I wouldn't have to hear myself talk about them.
minutes.
I know. I
Go
see
ahead.
the clock.
Go
Don't
ahead.
you worry. Seeing as how nobody else is going to bring this up, I firmly believe that for the playoff spots that are going to be up for grabs this year in the NFC, because I do feel like the Cowboys will beat out the Philadelphia Eagles for the NFC East division. Feel like it's going to be a crapshoot between Drew Brees and Tom Brady in the NFC South. And then, yes, the Arizona Cardinals will be in that playoff mix, especially with that seventh playoff spot. Those 3 wild card spots are going to be up for grabs between the NFC South and the NFC West for sure. 3 teams, I think, from each one of those divisions could come away with a wild card spot. But to not throw out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is asinine. It's arguably the most well-rounded, best, maybe second best, at worst, the second best offense in the league. I mean, only have 2 top 5 wide receivers.
Cam, they're
only
the second
have
best in their
2
division.
top 10 tight ends. I mean,
Cam said
only
y'all
have the
playing
best
for number
front
2
seven.
in the division, Jack. I'm
Only
just saying
have
what
the
Cam
best
said.
front 7 in the entire NFL. The number 1 rushing defense in the league.
Whoa! I don't know about pumping them brakes. You come see my Steelers defense once. We got a pretty vaunted
the
front
Bucs-
seven.
Were
here.
they
Bucks
number one
definitely,
last year?
We led
the
the
Bucks
league
definitely
in
will
sacks
make it.
last
But
year.
I'll say this
the
from doing
Tampa
the
Bay
prospect
was
and
the number 1 rushing defense, though, I have to say. They finished the year
okay,
statistically
so
as the number 1 rushing defense.
So it's a passing league, and we're worried about rushing.
All you gotta do is make a team one-dimensional. That's all you gotta do.
Okay.
Then you
Okay.
get
all I will
my guy
say
named
is the
Shaq
Bucks'
Barrett.
Achilles heel
Kyler
is
Murray's going to be
injuries and
running
COVID.
circles around Shaq Barrett.
That Cody's got a point, like injuries, and then of course we have a pandemic when everyone on the Bucks that signed is 150 years old.
Because I did them on the prospect encyclopedia, and they were one of the teams. I was like, "Ooh, man! If injuries happen to this team, like it's going to be bad."
Yeah.
Old Tommy, with his age, gets COVID.
D-line, O-line. Yeah, those are some thin positional groups.
Can anybody think of any teams that have a shot to make it in that we didn't talk about, that, knowing what you know after going through
I got
the book?
one. I got one just in case you guys stole the Colts from me. I didn't do this team, but the Browns. I really think they have a well-rounded roster, and there's no reason outside Baker Mayfield not being who we thought he could be for them to miss the playoffs. I think they got a solid defense. I think they have a potential to have a great offense underneath Stefanski, especially now that Njoku's buying in to what they're trying to sell him as far as that 2 tight end set. So I'm not saying they'll make it, but they should be competing for the playoffs by the end of the year.
I have
I think
another
there's
team, too.
3 teams from the AFC North make it.
Yeah, I think so, too, easily. It's going to be a tough division either way. You're going to have a couple teams with 9-10 wins in that division quite easily. But the team I'm really looking at, it's going to be a big step forward for Drew Lock, but the Denver Broncos are built to win. They have 2 running backs, Phillip Lindsay, you got Melvin Gordon, you're getting a healthy Von Miller and Bradley Chubb back in there. You've got Jarrell Casey up front, Cortland Sutton with Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler. Noah Fant at tight end, even though I don't like him as a blocker. He's a heck of a pass catcher. That's a well-rounded offense, young playmakers, and a defense that's pretty top-notch with Justin Simmons and A.J. Bouye. If they can stay healthy, they got some older players, but they got playmakers, defense, offense. They just need some more experience on that front end. I'm not a big fan of Locke, but they have the ingredients that can make a push.
If Locke could surprise us and be what we don't think he could be, then that is going to be a tough team to beat. Especially with Bradley Chubb and Von Miller finally getting to play again together.
They're the one team that I wish that if Alex Smith was completely healthy, I'd love to see him in that offense.
Oh, I agree.
With that defense, you're talking about legit contenders right there in Denver. With that running game and those young offensive weapons, that would be insane. That maybe you see a late season trade for a quarterback if he's struggling.
Anybody else? We got 45 seconds.
No, I like that pick by the Broncos because that was one of the teams I was
one of the
feeling.
ones I was looking into too, man. Like It's just
I got
they've got
also
so many
gonna say,
weapons.
let me say this. Which is a team I hate that Cam didn't get to, and I didn't like what they did with the quarterback position. But Tyrod Taylor took the Bills with less talent to the playoffs before, and I really like that Chargers defense. They still got playmakers on the offense, and if Tyrod can at least protect the ball, like they could sneak in there. It's a team to watch, but it is the Chargers.
Right.
Raiders
Absolutely.
are another one though too. I think
that's what I was just going to ask about.
Any four of those teams there's one team that's going to win that division. Any four of those teams can make the playoffs.
Right, absolutely. Going to be a lot of good teams this year that could sneak in. So, I guess what we'll do here, we'll go to our last commercial break here. We'll show you the quick trailer for the Island of Misfit Toys, the viral video brought to you by me on Blitzalytics YouTube page. Go check it out. We'll be right back with you.
Sex, drugs, and murder. Welcome to the locker room of the 2008 Florida Gators.
Hey, let's go! Get in here! Get in here right now! Get in here! Hey, we got 30 minutes for the rest of our lives! 30 minutes for the rest of our lives! That's our battle in the first half. It ain't happening. We get the ball. I promise you one thing. We're going to hit somebody and we're taking down the field for a touchdown. I guarantee you that. Guarantee. Look at me. Look at me. Let's go. We got 30 minutes. Let's go. For the rest of our lives.
All right, welcome back in. We have mowed through this show thus far. We're going to go ahead now, get you ready for the fourth quarter here, where the topic is going to be... See, now this was where we were deciding. We're trying to make it a little bit more fun, so this is going to sound weird to you guys, but the topic of the fourth quarter is who would win the Super Bowl if every team had to start their backup quarterback. So that's removing your Lamars, that's removing your Patty Mahomeses, that's removing your A-Rodges. That's really going to put a big old footprint in what you had going on. So it's really going to flip a lot of stuff here. You got a lot of options. Cody, I'll come to you to lead us off. If every starting quarterback went down, what team makes to the Super Bowl?
Now you're saying went down. I thought maybe this when we first did this question, you meant like COVID-19, and like all I was thinking first was like, if you think a team's gonna let a quarterback miss the Super Bowl because of COVID-19, you're tripping. They'll figure a way to make sure all those tests are positive for that week.
Yeah,
but yeah, the one I chose, I'm glad you picked me first because I did this straight to kind of piss off Jack. The Saints with Jameis Winston.
Oh, sorry, it's on my list. It's on my list. Don't you worry.
Just because they're a well-rounded team, it's Sean Payton. Jameis is good for what? He can go off for 4 touchdowns, and he got LASIK surgery, so who knows? Maybe he puts it all together. So that is my team I picked. I got a couple other, but I'll let you guys speak on it, and maybe we can just go around.
Well, I'm going to take, since he took that one, I'm going to steal Cody's team, and I'm going to say it's the Indianapolis Colts.
That was on my back.
Look, here's the deal. Whoever the starter is, the other guy can probably get that team into the Super Bowl with everybody down. So if it's Rivers to start and he goes down, then I got Brissett. If Brissett ends up taking the job, and then I got Rivers. I'm good. I got that solid running game. I have a amazing offensive line with the most underrated player in the NFL top 100. What the hell are you guys doing sleeping on Big Q? And then I've got that defense with my boy Darius Leonard holding down shop. I'm going to say the Indianapolis Colts would be my Super Bowl favorites if every starter goes down in the league. So that's my squad. Roy, let me come to you next, man.
Oh, man, you guys are going to make me say something about David Connor's team, aren't you? You're going to make me be that guy, aren't you?
You're going to say it.
I was so hoping you were going to Jack next, but you're going to make me say the Dallas Cowboys would be in the Super Bowl with Mr. Andy Dalton, and I'd still hang by that, him even being the starter over Dak Prescott. You're crazy paying that man. I'm sorry, I'm not a Dak Prescott fan, but Andy Dalton, it'd be just basically Cincinnati, version 2. running the ball with the guys he had young in his career to throwing the ball to A.J. Green. He's got Amari Cooper now. He loves being, the second fiddle weapon. He's not the guy that's going to raise you above the rest like, as bad as I like to say it, Aaron Rodgers and Patty Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. He's not that quarterback, but the cast of people are around him there in Dallas. Andy Dalton would be the quarterback I'd choose.
Without a doubt, that roster right there has the least gap from starting quarterback to second-string quarterback, and their second-string quarterback is arguably better than a handful of starting quarterbacks in the league. So that is the clear-cut, easy one. The other one I will throw out there, though, is the San Francisco 49ers only had to throw the ball, 13 times to beat the Green Bay Packers? I'm sure Nick Mullins could throw the ball 13 times.
Nick Mullins, baby.
Nick
I'm a
Mullins.
truther.
Southern Miss pride there.
So with that zone run scheme and that defense, I'm pretty sure the San Francisco 49ers would still even beat Jameis Winston. I don't know if they beat the Dallas Cowboys, but I'm pretty sure Richard Sherman would have a heyday picking off Jameis, and there would be at least a pick six in that game, at least one. I mean, Jameis is good for like a pick six like every other week. So for sure, if New Orleans is putting up points for the other team and the San Francisco 49ers defense is capitalizing, yeah, I'll go Niners.
All right, so now
I'm
going
to twist this around. I want to twist it around for you guys real quick. Which team would surprise you with their second-string quarterback?
The Raiders.
That they would win more games.
The Raiders.
Raiders.
Ravens.
With
Ravens?
RG3?
Yeah.
Wow.
It would be interesting because of the system that they run. I could see it being okay. They wouldn't be better, but they'd still be. The Raiders, I think, would be better with Mariota right now.
Green Bay Packers.
Oh, come on. You know that's not true.
Ooh, so
Jordan Love.
slander towards the
Jordan
Rod.
Love, baby.
I love it, but you know it's not true. I'm
saying back up. We're saying all the quarterbacks are out for the season.
Yeah.
I'm saying which team would surprise you afterwards. Jordan Love would be my guy. Year one, give me that RPO action, throwing the deep ball to Devontae Adams. Yes,
Miami would be a team. Fitzmagic would be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league. Tua would be one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, regardless of who it was that went down there. And Brian Flores is a damn good coach. Miami would surprise you.
The Chargers would be
How
on
about
that
Case
list.
Keenum with Cleveland?
Oh, Cleveland? Ooh.
We
Should
may
be a
get a shot to
contender.
see that this
They'd
year.
be a contender now. I think they would be a contender.
I think they would too, because they're going to be leaning on that run game.
I would say out of all of those teams, you could even throw in the Chicago Bears because they still have that defense, and whether it's Nick Foles or Trubisky, that's still like a borderline top-tier second-string, bottom-tier first-string quarterback. But the Washington Redskins, depending on who's starting, if Dwayne Haskins starts week 1, it's an upgrade at second string for sure. They've got some potential in there. I mean, if we're talking going up against second strings and that front four, Washington, the Washington football team could be a team to be reckoned with.
Stupidest shit I've ever heard. Dan Snyder, Washington football team. Stupid. All right, so real quick. So the original 4 were the Colts, the Niners, who else was it?
Cowboys.
Colts, Niners, Cowboys.
Saints.
And Saints. All right, so my Colts make the Super Bowl because I'm the only AFC team here. So which of your 3 NFC teams, guys? You've got the Niners, you've got the Saints, and you've got my brain is not working. Guys. That's why I can't remember, because it's the Cowgirls. Which 3 of those teams is going to be representing the NFC? If they're all backups, who would you favor in that matchup, guys? Could you see one leaning a little further than the other? Because I think that Saints pick is scary because Jameis is just launching for 450, 500 a game. Exactly.
Just throwing it up to Michael Thomas. Go get it, son.
He can throw 30 touchdowns, but then the interceptions. Like, what have you guys forgot about? Like, what do you not remember?
We bring in Taysom Hill when he throws interceptions.
LASIK eye surgery. He's going to come out and be Peyton Manning this year.
Get out of here with that.
John Payton, Jack's nightmare.
The Red Rifle. Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, Zeke, CeeDee Lamb.
I don't know. I saw the red rifle in that
Throw up a
Cowboys
little-
uniform.
I can't believe
Just
I'm
doesn't
like
look-
on this side of the argument. I'm like throwing up a little bit in my mouth.
Well, Andy Dalton's the most patriotic player in football because he himself is now red, white, and blue. So, so maybe the Cowboys. Let's go with that because they just like a red, white, and blue team in the Super Bowl every year in the NFL.
And it can't be the Patriots this year. So
I think Jack's right, though. I think talent-wise, the Cowboys probably are of the three with the situation, given the backup. Dalton can take care of the ball where Jameis is risk-it-biscuit thing, but they've got so much damn talent. I hate to admit it, but it's probably the Cowboys for me. So that's 2 votes for the Cowboys. Mayo, where do you go?
I'm going with the Saints. I just think they got a better if you're talking about one game, too, I think they got the better defense.
Roy?
I'm going Saints too.
Jesus
after
Christ,
they lost
Roy.
Byron
No, it's
Jones.
2-2.
I'm sorry, Byron Jones left. He's out of town. Trevon Diggs.
And we don't even know about the health of LVE. That's a scary situation, too. And that defense is really not the same without him in the lineup.
That dude, I love when he howls, dude. That's like, I don't even like the Cowboys, but when he hits that, bro, I'm like, yes, please do it some more.
Yeah, that's why they fell. That's why they lost. They lost at the end of the year, and they didn't beat the Eagles. It's because that kid was out the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he is a
Now
monster.
Oh, Joe McCoy, Neville Gallimore, Marcus Lawrence,
Alden
All right,
Smith.
so there's still 2
Alden
matchups.
Smith.
There's still 2 matchups there then. Colts and versus
You're telling
Cowboys,
me a bunch
Colts
of
versus Saints. Who's going to win each matchup? I'll take the Colts in both matchups.
You don't
I
even
take
ask
the
me the
Saints against the Colts, and I take the Cowboys against the Colts.
Ooh. Talking shit,
some-
Cody.
That's some Indianapolis just throwdown on
Hey.
you, Cody.
That's
Yeah,
what wants to
we
start.
got the Colts.
First time in his life, he wants to start going for Jameis Winston. Of course, I'm going to take this person off.
Hey, what'd you say earlier, Cody, about Jonathan Taylor? What was that thing you quoted? Maybe we ought to run that by the team we just were talking
Everybody
about.
knows everybody knows the meme, the joke. Like this guy slaps your girlfriend on the ass. What do you do? So if anybody missed it on my Twitter, I've been trying to post some funny Twitter memes. If anybody missed a photo of Jonathan Taylor, please go check it out. He looks yoked up.
Yoked,
I said
bro. Just yoked.
Yeah, and if you guys missed it, what I posted with it, I go, this man runs by your favorite NFL team's linebacker and slaps him on the ass for a touchdown. What do you do?
You hang your head in shame and try to stop it next time. That he's going to be a monster.
Dude, they got the Colts are going to be dependent on the running. The young passing receivers stepping up with Pittman and Pascal, Pittman and Campbell. But with that being said, DeForest Buckner is going to be huge. I really think that he's going to open up a lot of stuff for Darius Leonard to become a defensive player of the year this year. That's my hot take.
Colts,
I'm standing on.
You taking Colts in both matchups then, Cody?
Yeah, I think the defense is going to be really well. I think you're going to see Matt Eberflus reignite Xavier Rhodes' career too in that defense.
So, Countryman, you got the matchups. You've got Colts, Cowboys, Colts, Saints. Who wins those games?
Colts, Cowboys. It's the Colts. Colts, Saints. It's going to go to the Saints. Sorry.
Yeah,
Saints gonna win.
I understand. The Saints got a better overall roster that you can trust. So
yeah, I just think the Colts would be able to dominate Dallas's front with that offensive line. Dallas's offensive line has shown a lot of age anymore. I don't know about that.
Yeah, and we don't know how it's going to be without what's his name retiring, Frederick.
Yep, Frederick again. They have Joe Looney at center. Tyron Smith's been out in and out with his back. Zach Martin's a stud, but
his plays kind of fell off too.
Yeah.
All right,
little bit.
In this world, all of the major MVP candidates are gone because it always goes to a quarterback. Who's your MVP favorite in a league with all the starting quarterbacks gone?
Ooh,
Jack,
boy.
Say that again.
Since all the starting quarterbacks, your Pats, your Lamars, your future MVP, Kyler Murray's, they're all out of it right now. Who's the MVP of that
They're
league?
saying the whole
easy.
season.
Christian McCaffrey.
That's a studly vote right there, Cody.
That's the easiest one.
I I thought you were saying like we would have to vote for a quarterback. I was about to say I think Jameis would win it with a full season.
Jesus, get out of here.
Oh man.
Get
No,
outta here.
any player
What is
who wins
this?
MVP.
Any player. Yeah, probably McCaffrey, or if Saquon really does take that next step, like I think he will this year, and then to playoffs. That's a big if in New York.
Roy, who snags your MVP in that scenario?
Alvin Kamara.
Ooh.
What?
Ooh.
Alvin Kamara. Because if he has James throwing him or Taysom Hill, he's going to be checking that ball down to him. Him and McCaffrey are going to be neck and neck with catches and running yards.
They are so far apart in terms of production. It's not even close.
I'm just saying.
How
That's
dare you, Mr.
Oh, I
Wilson?
did, son.
How dare you? They are so far apart in terms of what they can do. Alvin Kamara is a straight line, okay route runner. Like, he is a one cut and go back. Christian McCaffrey can do it all. It's not even close.
They're leaning on him
It's not even a
heavily.
decent comparison.
They're leaning on him heavily.
One needs a thunder to his lightning. One is the thunder, the lightning, the flash, Superman, all rolled into one.
Well, all you guys are wrong anyway. It's going to be Aaron Donald. So, it's fine.
Oh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ooh.
A league full of backup quarterbacks, Aaron Donald will feast. Just feast.
Yeah. Aaron Donald's getting to that ripe age of, peaking.
You do not besmirch the name of the Golden God.
Just get ready for that because he is peaking at this moment, and he's not going to have so many of them crazy great years. So, just saying.
Didn't they say that about John Randall too? I was gonna say John Randall was about the same size.
No, I think honestly, I agree with Jack, dude. In a league where there's no starting level quarterback, it's C-Mac. Dude, just gonna run beast mode over everybody. That play with him running on his knuckles like a damn gorilla, I will never forget. It just shows you how dedicated he is to making it happen regardless of what's going on. So to me, the right answer, MVP of the league. If all the starting quarterbacks go down, C-Mac. That's going to do it for the fourth quarter here. So let's go ahead, because again, you never want it to end in the fourth quarter when you're having such a good time with your buds talking some football. We're going to go ahead and we're going to hit up the overtime period here, where the topic is going to be us reviewing the top 90 overall.
The Lord Encyclopedia.
All right, so I'm gonna pick three of each. Three I had high that I'm higher on than our consensus, and then three lows. My three that I was higher on was none other than my boy, Eastern Michigan's own Max Crosby. I rated him number 5. Somehow we consensusly ranked him at 14. That needs to definitely go up. I love everything about this dude, his work ethic, his get off. This dude needs to be bumped way up higher. I'm sorry, I'd take him over Ed Oliver, Derek Brown, a lot of these other guys that went up higher. The only guy I think I maybe take over him, the two of them would be Chase Young and Josh Allen, just because I love their dominance. But this guy's a close third in there, so he's got to be in that 5 to 8 range. So that's my number 1 player that I'm higher on. Number 2 was actually my number 2 ranked player when we were ranking all these. None other than Debo himself, Mr. Debo Samuel, with the San Francisco 49ers. He was ultimately ranked number 11 consensus across the board here. But the dynamic ability after the catch, it just reminds me so much of Antonio Brown in his prime. He just has that nuance with his route running, his catching. Love everything about Debo. I know I'm a lot higher than some of the other people on there. And my last one for the high rankings is none other than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I had him ranked 14th overall. He consensusly was 24th. I actually value him more all around than Jonathan Taylor. But I got to preface that by saying Jonathan Taylor went to the perfect scheme fit in Indianapolis right there. I'm going to let it go at that, and then we'll jump back maybe into lows here after everybody gives some of their high takes here.
And just so I understand that we're talking about players that are ranked high that we liked where they are at, correct? And then when we talk about low, guys that are in the low area, like guys that we thought could be ranked higher. Okay, I just want to make sure. No, I didn't. I didn't want to make sure because I feel like. Right. Well, first of all, I'll go ahead and say I did rank Ed Oliver number 5, and I tell you, man, you need to go back and watch him. That guy is going to be a top 5 defensive tackle when it's all said and done. If you saw what he put together towards the end of the season. So I'm really high on Ed Oliver. I did write the Bills. He's my number 1 prospect. So when you guys check that out, you'll see an in-depth report on him. One guy I was surprised he ended up being number 33. I had him at 19 on my personal rankings is Quinnen Williams. I was surprised to see everybody kind of go off his train. I understand he had a bad rookie year, but don't forget he started off the year really banged up. He's also a young kid. I believe he was 2021 last year. I don't have the pressure percentage, but the last 8 weeks his pressure percentage was increased by it was a good number. I just wish I had that on the top of my head. The kid, I don't know if you guys saw recent photos, he's showed in shape. He's got his braces off. I still think he can be that talent that we saw. And I just don't think I just thought everybody kind of dinged him too hard for a rough rookie season in New York with Greg Williams, by the way. And then another one, I guess, one other guy that was ranked high, I would say I just want to bring this guy up just because I think he was properly ranked, but Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, he was a guy I was really high on when I did the scouting report for him, and he really flashed and did show up as a rookie last year. So I'm looking forward to see him taking that next jump in his second season.
All right. Well, all right. For players that I'm high on, that I ranked a little higher than everybody else did, one, this is definitely a homer pick, Jamal Dean. None of us really knew what we were getting in Jamal Dean, and come to find out, in the second half of the season, he was tied, even after an extremely abysmal start. He was allowing the same percentage of completion as Stephon Gilmore, and was one of the best press man coverage corners in the league. He runs a 4.3. He's tall. He's lengthy. He's not afraid to tackle. I'm very excited to see. I had him at 34. Everybody else had him at 55, which I thought was a little unfair. Just a little bit unfair. There's a couple guys that stand out to me. I know Chase Claypool I had at 51. He ended up being at 60, 68. For majority of these, they're really close. I can't. The fact that I had them at 50 and they ended up at 60 or 55 is kind of hard to nitpick. So if I can just flip it and start with me and the people that I think are a little too low or aren't high enough. How do you say that? See, now I'm getting confused. Cody messed me up. I don't know what's what now. I had Noah Fant at 53. You guys had him at 35. I think that's complete BS. I don't understand. Fant is trash. Fant can't.
Oh, he's gonna be good.
He could be. As a limited role receiver.
He's a pass catcher.
Exact same numbers as George Kittle did his rookie season. That's all I'll say. And he said he will be the second guy in the offense. So he's a sleeper tight end in fantasy.
He does have, as much as I cannot stand him in the blocking game, that dude absolutely whiffs more time than, a poor Pittsburgh Pirate batter in the batting box. This guy, I'm just saying right now, Noah Fant is terrible in the blocking game, but as bad as he is there, he is dominant as a pass catcher. He has legit 4.5, 4.45 speed. That dude can go up over 40 inches and catch the ball. He's going to be the next reincarnate of Jimmy Graham. I love his upside as a pass catcher. Don't like the effort whatsoever. That's why I have him there, mostly because of the touchdown production and yardage. Outside of that, he's nothing in the blocking game. You're going to definitely need a strong number 2 blocker on the roster to even consider, playing him 50, 60 snaps a game on offense. That's just unfathomable. But go ahead, Jack. If you have some other ones here
let's just stick with the tight end position. Why don't we? Hayden Hurst. I got Hayden Hurst ranked at 89. Hasn't done a whole lot of anything other than get traded. Mark Edwards or Andrews beat him out. This is a guy that they took before Lamar Jackson, which is a crazy concept that they would trade the guy that they ended up taking and liked more than Lamar Jackson. Look how that's paid off. But the Falcons' new tight end, Hayden Hurst, I think you guys are all projecting them off of the role he will have in Atlanta, not the production he has had or lack of production he's had over his career. So Hayden Hurst is my next one.
Hayden Hurst isn't much of a blocker either. That's why he never excelled in Baltimore. He always was stuck behind everybody else. Mark Andrews is way better blocker, but you just see the amount of targets that Hooper got in Atlanta, and that's why it was projected. Like you said, the role you kind of are projecting. He does have the athleticism to stretch the seam, get up over guys, and we all know Matt Ryan likes to pepper the tight ends with targets. That's why I cast him where I had him in the mid-50s, I think. I'll just touch on 2 guys real quick. I'll cut the third. The 2 is the guy I've been hating on since the draft. It's one of Jack's boys with Tampa Bay. We had him ranked at 25 in consensus. My rank was 41. I think I was being generous. Tristan Wirfs, great athlete. Not sure he's going to be able to stay on the outside, especially if they ever try to cast him as a left tackle. I think they're in big trouble. Right tackle, he does have some correctable traits or mistakes that he makes. But he's more athlete, I think, right now than he is pure blocker. And I think there's some other guys on the list. We could have bumped him up a little higher. Even a Jamel Dean, like Jack was saying, that had a high upside, big corner. I just don't like Tristan Wirfs where we have him there. And then my next guy is a running back. In my opinion, the 4th best running back, out of the runners taken in the first 3 rounds. And that's DeAndre Swift. We had him at 72. And I had him at 45, I believe. No, I had him at 72. The consensus was at 45. I just am not convinced he's ever going to be a feature back. I think he's going to be nothing but a bit piece, especially when you have other guys like J.K. Dobbins, Cody's boy, Jonathan Taylor, and my guy, Edwards-Helaire. I'm not a big fan of DeAndre Swift.
Well, outranked. It's kind of hard for me to figure that out because a lot of my rankings kind of did somewhat line up, but one for me is J.K. Dobbins. I don't know why, guys. I was saying it back in the draft process. There's just something about him that just turns me off. I had him ranked at 75. He's ranked 40th on our list. I don't think he's going to really get. He has an opportunity to have the lead role by the end of the season, but I would not be surprised if he's in our book next year just because of Mark Ingram and other guys within that offense. I'm not sure if he'll get those starts. So that is one name that comes to mind as far as somebody that is ranked too high compared to my rankings. And somebody like Deshaun Han, I wasn't a big fan. I got him at 76 and he was up at 57. I think he's somewhat limited, but he's still a top 90 player in our book. And one guy I do think that I hate to say this, Rob, Cam Akers. I like the talent, but I had him at 84, but he ended up being ranked 64th in our book. And I think he's going to be in a running back by committee, and I think he might have a strength of.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen.
The coach has already talked about it.
This guy over here, this guy right here, that's none other than my boy who follows me, Mr. Javon Kinlaw. Met him face to face down at the Senior Bowl. That's right, Javon. We don't forget about you. Don't forget about you. That's actually Rob's artwork from when we were at the Combine. So if you ever need artwork done, hit up my man Rob Graphics. But this guy is going to be DeForest Buckner. Who? I'm sorry, Cody. You got a stud in Indianapolis, but we're not going to miss him in San Francisco. This guy is going to be dominant for the next decade. He's just scratching the surface. He really turned it on his senior season, and this guy can do everything all around the front seven. He can move up and down in different techniques, attack the passer. He's got long arms to be a two-gapping presence in the run game. He's just going to be an absolute freak up front with the Bosas and the I can't remember his name now. Came over from the Chiefs. Where am I at here, guys? D Ford. Yeah, that type of rotation with the edge rushers and that presence coming off the edge. Good luck, NFC West. That's going to be a fun division with Seattle and the 49ers and the Cardinals and Rob's Rams, maybe in a lowly fourth. But it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. If we can stick with the Niners real quick, though, there is one guy that only me and Roy ranked earlier or on this top 90, and that was Jalen Hurd. And that is somebody that nobody is talking about, that if you need to get a piece to add to your team, you're a little light on the wide receiver group, in a dynasty league, Jalen Hurd is somebody you are going to want to pick up and you're going to want to know, because coming into last season, he was their number one wide receiver, not Deebo Samuels. And we've seen how good Deebo Samuels is and how great of a a wide receiver he can be, especially once he has the ball in his hands. But what he can do, Jalen Hurd can do as good, if not better. He's taller, faster, more physical. He's a running back who grew into a wide receiver, somebody I am super excited about.
Yeah, if it wouldn't have been for a back injury, I think he would have been the guy everybody was talking up, not Deebo, just because of the freak athleticism he has. He actually transitioned from running back to receiver just to save his body. And everything you've ever seen Martavis Bryant do on the field for the Steelers, this guy can do, and he's not as refined. And he has a better character. He's a better work ethic. He's going to be an absolute freak athlete. I'm interested to see how Kyle Shanahan uses him, maybe even in some zone running game in the red zone. So he might have dual purpose. You might get some rushing touchdowns and some catches in the red zone. So you can do a lot worse with one of your last picks, maybe in a dynasty or even in a regular fantasy league that you're looking at here, especially with Deebo being injured early.
Of course, you guys can check out more of that top 90 list included in the 2020 Prospect Encyclopedia, along with all the depth charts, the individual player write-ups, the top prospects, all of it. So again, you can get that real soon at Blitzalytics.com, Amazon.com, and BarnesandNoble.com. We did have a question come in, and since it wasn't football related, David Connors, this is a football show. We saved it here for the very end. He asked if the Joe Kelly 8-game suspension was, what was it, overkill or whatever. That's the gist of the question. Yes, it was overkill. Joe Kelly is a hero of mine, and every pitcher who hits anybody from the Houston Astros deserves a damn medal. Cheating bastards.
Amen.
Anybody want to talk about that real quick? Are we ready to get up out of here?
I don't do baseball.
Baseball guy.
Yeah, nobody does baseball anymore. Like, the only reason it's getting watched now is there's no sports for the last 4 months. So I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to hit you with a real quick. Go ahead.
I was going to say, we've done enough for David Connors on this episode.
Yeah, we talked about Cowboys, David. You owe us already. So we're going to hit you with a quick ad read because you know why? Do you wear clothes? Shirts specifically? Do you like those shirts to have cool pictures on them? Of course you do, because you're a person of taste. You have standards. Standards that can't be met by purchasing a generic big box store's crappy gear. So step your game up this season with the sweet new shirts from Blitzalytics. We do also have the COVID mask. You're required to wear one, so you might as well look cool when you do it. That's going to be something that I'm going to get for me and all of my family. You can get yours today at buyjack.com/collections/Blitzalytics. Also check out my collection at buyjack.com/collections/RobGraphics. Also want to give a shout out to our main sponsor, Key City Brewing. I want to thank you guys for all that you do for us. You guys have a special ad in the book. It's very, very pretty.
Rebel repeat.
It's dang. We're going to go ahead and get on out of here. You've seen it scrolling on the bottom. You can follow us at Blitzalytics on Twitter, Instagram. I guess we're getting this Twitch thing a-rolling now, too. You can follow me at RobRobGraphics on Twitter. Jack, tell them where they can follow you and say your goodbyes, my man.
At me, at Jack Bourgeois, JackBourshwa. Stay safe, everybody.
Cody.
Follow me at Cody Talks NFL. Had fun doing this first episode. Looking forward to seeing everybody next Tuesday.
Mr. Countryman.
You can follow me on Twitter at PreacherBoyRoy. And as always, how I always end it, stay humble, be a blessing.
It has been our pleasure to present to you the inaugural episode of Football Happy Hour presented by Blitzalytics.com. Tune in with us every Tuesday night moving forward, 9/8 Central. We're going to be doing this live. If you have questions, get them to us on Twitter. Follow along while we're live on YouTube. We're going to be live on Twitch. We'll be live on Facebook, and we'll figure this Twitter one out. I don't know what happened with that, but hopefully next week we'll be streaming live on Twitter. Get your questions in. Become a part of the show. Be a family with us, and we'll see you next Tuesday on Football Happy Hour. Have a good one.